My name is Alara Winslow, 29 years old, and for most of my life I believed I was pretty good at reading people. I thought I could sense dishonesty in a heartbeat, feel danger in the air, tell when someone was hiding something. Turns out I was wrong. Danger doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it walks in quietly smiling, sipping a latte and asking if the seat across from you is taken. 3 months ago, I met Mason at a small cafe tucked behind an old bookstore. I was flipping through a secondhand novel waiting for my drink when he asked what I was reading. His voice was warm, calm, too gentle for someone carrying the secrets he later claimed to hold. He laughed easily, listened well, and carried that subtle, intriguing sadness that made me want to understand him. Looking back, maybe that was my first mistake, wanting to understand someone before knowing whether they deserved it. On our second date, he told me something that changed everything. He leaned closer, lowered his voice, and said, "I need to be honest about something important." His eyes dropped as if afraid the truth might hurt me. Then he said the words that sat in my chest for weeks. "I'm in witness protection. I can't tell you my real name or my past." He described it with such fragile sincerity. Dangerous people, a trial. Federal marshals. A new identity. A life he supposedly didn't ask for. He even showed me documents stamped and marked looking official enough to fool anyone who wasn't expecting deception, and I wanted to believe him. He framed it as vulnerability, courage, him choosing to trust me. I mistook the performance for truth. For 3 months, I adapted to his rules. No questions about his childhood, no questions about his family, no pressure about where he lived. He said the temporary safe housing wasn't a place he could bring me yet. No social media, no photos of him online, no digital traces. I thought it was love mixed with danger. It was just lies wrapped in theatrics. Money was always an issue for him. He worked part-time at a clothing store, said the marshals helped arrange it, but the pay was awful. I paid for most dates, bought groceries when he stayed over, even helped once with his phone bill, when he said the program stipend came late. He always looked ashamed when I offered help, always said, "I'll make it up to you one day." I didn't know one day was code for never. I respected his boundaries, every single one. I never pushed for details about his past, never argued about the rules, never questioned why the marshals would approve him working retail where anyone could walk in and recognize him. I suspended disbelief because I wanted to believe him. I thought I was protecting a good man from a dangerous past. I didn't realize the danger was sitting beside me all along. Then came the moment everything unraveled. He borrowed my laptop to check his email. Hours later, I opened a browser tab, typed a single letter, and the autocomplete filled in a phrase that froze my blood. Facebook Mason Hartwell, the same last name he'd given me. Yet a person in witness protection shouldn't have an active Facebook profile. My hand shook as I clicked the link. His face appeared instantly smiling, relaxed, alive, in hundreds of photos spanning an entire decade. 10 years of restaurants, holidays, laughing with friends. Recent posts, comments, tagged locations. Every rule he claimed to live by broken in plain sight. My stomach flipped, my pulse roared. This wasn't a forgotten profile. This wasn't a mistake. This was the real Mason, the one he hid. I made a fake profile in 15 minutes, nothing sophisticated, just a blank account with a stock photo. Sent him a friend request. He accepted within the hour. And then came the photos. Photos with kids, 2 of them. Different ages, different birthdays. Mason at parks and living rooms at birthday parties. Captions like, "My babies." Children he never mentioned. Children he never visited. A man hiding from dangerous criminals wouldn't post his exact location at a bar 3 nights ago. A man in witness protection wouldn't still use the identity he supposedly left behind. Scrolling through the comments felt like peeling my skin off. In older photos, a woman appeared frequently a wife. His ex, clearly. Her name, Julianne Hartwell. Her profile was public. And that's when I saw it. A recent post from her day 542 of trying to get Mason to pay child support. Kids need winter coats. Still nothing. The comments were brutal. Her family, his old friends, strangers all calling him irresponsible, selfish, a runaway parent. Everything clicked. The story about witness protection. The secrecy. The lack of money. The refusal to talk about his past. He wasn't hiding from criminals. He was hiding from his children. That realization hit with a nauseating force. I had believed him, defended him, respected what I thought was trauma. But it was all scripted, all to hide something far more mundane and far more monstrous. He came over that night smiling like nothing was wrong, kissed me lightly, talked about work, cooked dinner. I watched him move around my kitchen like a man who had never hurt anyone, and all I could think was, how many lies did it take to become a man like this? I waited until after we ate. Then I opened my laptop and turned the screen toward him. His Facebook profile filled the display. The blood drained from his face so quickly I thought he'd faint. He tried to speak, but the words tangled in his throat. He knew. He knew he couldn't twist this one. He couldn't charm his way out. The truth sat between us like a bomb finally triggered. Everything in me that had ever felt warmth for him burned to ash. And in the silence that followed, I felt the first real fear, not of him hurting me, but of how far he would go to keep his lies alive. Mason didn't speak at first. He just stared at the screen, blinking rapidly, like the truth was too bright and too painful to look at directly. The man who once spun dramatic tales about federal marshals and dangerous criminals suddenly looked like a child caught stealing Lost Cornered Small. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't have to. "Is your name actually Mason Hartwell?" I asked. He swallowed hard. "Yes, but—" "And you're not in witness protection." Silence. "Mason, are you—" His eyes darted away, his jaw tightened, and then so softly he whispered, "No." 3 months of secrets dissolved in a single word. I felt something hollow open inside me, a quiet ache that spread through my ribs like cold water. I had built an entire understanding of him around a lie. No, not one lie, hundreds told carefully, repeatedly, each designed to protect not his safety, but his image. Why, I asked. Why tell me something like that? His voice cracked. Because I was scared. You're different, Alara. You're good. And I knew if I told you everything at once, the divorce, the kids, the money you'd run, everyone runs. That's because you hide the truth from them. He shook his head violently. No, that's not it. People judge me. They hear child support and assume I'm a monster. You lied about being hunted by criminals. My words cut cleaner than I expected. You made up government documents. You said you couldn't have social media. You said you couldn't talk about your past. That's not fear, Mason. That's manipulation. He stood up abruptly, pacing like a trapped animal. You don't get it. Julianne turned everyone against me. Every friend, every relative. I had to get away. So you abandoned your children. His pacing stopped. His breath hitched. The room held its breath with him. I didn't abandon them. Then what do you call disappearing for over a year? It's complicated. No, I said gently. It's actually very simple. He rubbed his face with both hands. Julianne, she's difficult, controlling. She wanted everything her way, and when I pushed back, she punished me. She poisoned the kids against me. She put the court on her side. I just needed time. I needed space. You needed to not pay child support, I corrected. His shoulders tensed. I could see the shift, the subtle tilt of entitlement, the defensiveness, the quiet rage at being cornered by the truth. Then came the classic deflection. She makes plenty of money. She doesn't need mine. They're your kids, Mason. They need their father to show up. They have a father, he snapped. They don't need my money on top of that. The chill that moved through me felt physical. It was the moment I understood who he really was, not a man escaping danger, but a man escaping responsibility. A man who believed abandonment was a justified choice if he framed it as self-preservation. How much do you owe? I asked. His eyes narrowed. That's none of your business. It became my business the moment you brought me into your lies. His jaw flexed irritation, replacing fear. I don't owe you an explanation. You went snooping. Snooping, my laugh was hollow. Your Facebook auto-filled when you used my laptop. I didn't have to snoop. The truth was right there. His tone sharpened. You broke my trust. You never gave me anything real to trust. He grabbed his coat, hands shaking, eyes bright with something between anger and desperation. I don't have to listen to this. You're overreacting. Overreacting, I repeated slowly. You lied to me for 3 months. You hid your children from me. You let me pay for your life. And you think I'm the one overreacting? He pointed a finger at me, voice trembling. If you walk away from me now, you'll regret it. I promise you will. They say threats sound different when disguised as heartbreak. They sound softer, almost pleading. But a threat is still a threat. I stepped back. We're done, Mason. He stared at me like he couldn't comprehend the words. Just like that. Not just like that, I said. This moment is 3 months overdue. He stared for a long moment. Then he exhaled long and angry. Fine. I'll leave. But when you realize you made a mistake, don't come crawling back. I won't. He left, slamming the door with such force the frame rattled. A neighbor's dog barked downstairs. The hallway lights flickered. For a moment, the silence felt like the end of something enormous, like I had just cut the last string holding a very dark puppet. But as the quiet settled deeper, another feeling crept in. This wasn't over, not even close. People like Mason don't let go easily, especially when their lies are the only thing holding their world together. I thought ending things would bring peace, closure, silence. But men who build their identities on lies rarely walk away quietly. Mason didn't disappear, he multiplied. His presence seeped into every corner of my life like a slow-moving leak, one you don't notice until the floorboards begin to rot. The first messages came the next morning. A number I didn't know. "We need to talk." I didn't respond. 10 minutes later, "You're being unreasonable. I can explain everything if you just listen." I blocked the number. An hour later, another number. Same tone. "We had something real. Don't ruin it." Block. By evening, he escalated. "Ignoring me won't make this go away. I deserve a chance to explain." "Don't be dramatic, Alara." Block, block, block. Every time I blocked him, a new number appeared, like Hydra heads growing back. I stopped checking my phone for a while, turned off notifications, and tried to breathe in the rare, fragile silence. It didn't last. 2 days later, someone knocked at my door. Loud, erratic. The sound jolted through me like an electric shock. When I checked the peephole, Mason wasn't there, but his voice was. "Alara, knock. Alara, I know you're home. Knock. Knock. Your car is right there. Please open the door. Talk to me." My chest tightened. He sounded desperate, but desperation didn't make him safe. I backed away from the door, sat on the couch, waited. He stayed for 20 minutes, begging, apologizing, accusing. Then the tone shifted low, bitter. "You're acting like a coward. You can't hide forever. You owe me a conversation." Finally, footsteps retreated. The parking lot gate clanged shut. That night, my friend Mira came over and listened to everything. She didn't interrupt, didn't judge. When I finished, she sighed. "He's unhinged. This isn't normal heartbreak. This is control. I know. You're documenting all this right." Her question landed hard. I wasn't. "I will," I said. So I did. Screenshots, voicemails, photos of missed calls, a small, growing archive of every attempt he made to twist himself back into my life. But he wasn't done. The next attack came from an unexpected direction, a call from an unknown number. I answered without thinking. Alara, a woman's voice, sharp, angry. "This is Brittany. I'm Mason's friend." The edge in her voice felt like a slap. "We need to talk about what you did," she said. "What I did," she scoffed. "Don't play dumb. You went through his private stuff, accused him of insane things, and dumped him out of nowhere. You broke him. He lied to me about being in witness protection. He explained that. He was scared. And the children he abandoned." "Oh, please," she snapped. "Julianne has money. Those kids are fine. They don't need him hovering. It's not about money. It's about responsibility." "Responsibility." She laughed bitterly. "You women are always the same. Nothing is ever enough for you." My jaw tightened. "I'm not arguing with you." "You should be ashamed," she said. Then she hung up before I could respond. I leaned back, heart pounding. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a coordinated push, every person in his life trained to defend him, to excuse him, to attack anyone who challenged his narrative. It made me wonder how many times had he done this before. I blocked her number too. The next call came from someone I never expected, his mother. Her name flashed on my screen as Diane Hartwell, because Mason once insisted the program allowed limited contact with family. Another lie, apparently. I answered cautiously. "Alara, sweetheart," she said, soft and syrupy. "I heard you and Mason had a disagreement." I stayed silent. "He's devastated," she continued. "He told me you misunderstood. He was going to tell you everything soon. You didn't have to throw him out like that." "I didn't throw him out," I said. "We broke up because he lied." Repeatedly. A pause. Then her voice sharpened. "He only lied because he was scared you'd judge him. Everyone judges him. So he pretended to be hunted by criminals. He was trying to protect himself. From child support." Another pause. A colder one. "He can't afford those payments," she said defensively. "He barely makes enough to get by." Then she added something that made my skin crawl. "You should be supporting him emotionally during this hard time, not abandoning him." I ended the call. For a moment, I felt something close to dizziness. How deeply embedded were these lies? How many people had he convinced that running away from his children made him a victim? The next day, the chaos escalated into something far worse. An email, a long one, from Mason. I skimmed it at first, expecting the usual blend of guilt and desperation. But then I saw the line that made everything inside me go cold. If you don't talk to me, I'll go to the police. I'll report that you financially abused me and threatened me. I don't want to do this, but you've left me no choice. It wasn't an argument. It wasn't an apology. It was a threat. Blackmail. A veiled promise to ruin me if I didn't give him what he wanted. For the first time, I felt real fear. That evening, I called Avery, my lawyer friend from college. I sent him every screenshot, every call log, every voicemail, every email. He read them carefully, painfully slow, then said the words I hadn't yet let myself think. Elara, this is attempted extortion. He's trying to intimidate you into compliance. You need to stop responding. Document everything. If he files a false report, we'll shut it down. I felt a weight in my chest lift and fall at the same time. So what do I do now? I asked. You wait, Avery said, and you prepare. I hung up, sat alone in my apartment, stared at the ceiling. I thought the worst was behind me, but the truth was only beginning to show its teeth. Because 2 days later at 8:17 p.m., there was a loud knock on my door. When I opened it, 2 police officers stood on my doorstep. The sight of the 2 officers at my door made every muscle in my body lock in place. Even though Avery had warned me this might happen, even though I knew I had done nothing wrong, fear crawled up my spine like cold fingers. Elara Winslow, the older officer, asked. Yes. My voice sounded thin, distant, not fully mine. We need to ask you a few questions regarding a complaint that was filed. Of course. Mason followed through. May we come in? The younger officer asked. I stepped aside. My hands shook as I closed the door. They sat at the small dining table while I stood uncertain whether my legs would hold me if I tried to join them. The older one opened a notebook. A man named Mason Hartwell filed a report claiming you financially exploited him and threatened his safety. He stated he disclosed sensitive information to you regarding a protected identity and that you used it to manipulate him. For a second, I almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because the absurdity felt unreal. I have evidence, I said quietly. Let's see it. I placed everything on the table, my laptop, my phone, the printed screenshots. Avery told me to have ready. I walked them through the timeline, every message, every new number, every voicemail, every threat, every piece of manipulation. I showed them Mason's extortion email, the Facebook discoveries, Julianne's post about unpaid child support, even the browser autofill that started it all. The older officer's expression shifted from polite neutrality to something harder: disapproval, irritation, maybe even anger, but not at me. So he's not actually in witness protection, he asked. No, he made the entire thing up. And the documents? Fake. He nodded grimly. We've seen cases like this. Not common, but not unheard of. The younger officer scrolled through Mason's email on my screen, reading carefully. He threatened to file a false report unless you contacted him. Yes, that's extortion, he muttered. They asked more questions: how long we dated, how much money I'd paid for, whether he'd ever been controlling or violent. I told the truth. They wrote everything down. When they finished, the older officer stood. Based on what you've provided, his complaint doesn't hold up. At all. We'll be following up with him. If he continues to contact you, consider filing for a restraining order. A sharp exhale escaped me. Relief, shock, grief. Everything hit at once. Am I in trouble? I whispered. No. You did everything right, he said. You documented everything. You stopped responding. That email alone could get him into serious trouble. They left. I locked the door behind them. Then I slid down to the floor and cried, not because I was weak, but because carrying someone else's lies on your shoulders for months leaves bruises no one can see. For the first time, I felt the full weight of what Mason had done. It wasn't just manipulation or lies. He weaponized trust. He used vulnerability as camouflage. He turned himself into a victim every time he feared accountability. And he wasn't done. The next day, another number, another message. Hope you're happy. Cops treated me like a criminal. This is your fault. Blocked. Then he found my mother. I don't know how he found her profile. We weren't even Facebook friends, but somehow he did. She called me confused and frantic. Elara, who is Mason? He sent me a message. He said you abandoned him and ruined his life. I felt sick. Mason is an ex, and everything he said is a lie. My mother immediately hardened. You stay away from that man. If he contacts me again, I'll report him myself. I believed her. No one weaponizes a mother's protectiveness and escapes unscathed. But the worst message wasn't from Mason, or Brittany, or Diane. It was from a stranger. A Facebook message request from Julianne Hartwell. For a moment, I didn't move. Her name pulsed on the screen, sharp and heavy. This was the woman in all the photos, the mother of his children, the one living the consequences of his irresponsibility long before I ever knew he existed. I opened the message. Hi. I know we don't know each other, but someone told me you dated Mason recently. I'm sorry. Truly. If you're willing, I'd like to talk. My breath caught in my throat. I didn't know her anything, but I clicked accept. She asked if she could call. I said yes. Her voice was tired. Years tired. Thank you for answering, she said softly. I'm Julianne. I didn't reach out to blame you. I know it's not your fault. I wanted to give you context. What happened between you two, I asked. She took a long breath. Mason left, she said. One day without warning. Just left. He told his mother he needed a break. He told friends we agreed to separate. None of it was true. He disappeared. Our kids were at my mom's that day, and he simply never went to pick them up. He never contacted them again. My throat tightened. How long ago? 18 months. The silence that followed felt like the air itself was grieving. I filed for child support, she continued. Not to punish him, but because kids need winter coats, shoes, food, reality. He ignored every notice, moved twice so they couldn't serve him. His mother keeps making excuses for him, but the truth is, he didn't want to be a father anymore. I closed my eyes. I'm so sorry, I whispered. It's not your fault, she repeated. And thank you. Someone told me he was finally served. Whoever helped make that possible did a kindness for my kids. I think I know who that was, I said. She exhaled with relief. Good. Maybe this will finally move forward. We talked for nearly an hour. She was gentle, honest, heartbreakingly understanding. Nothing like the portrait Mason painted. Before she hung up, she said something that stayed with me. People like Mason don't just run from responsibility, Alara. They run from the truth. And when the truth catches up, they look for someone else to blame. When I ended the call, I knew with painful clarity. Mason wasn't spiraling, he was falling. And I had just watched the last pieces of the illusion crumble. Julianne's call should have felt like closure, but instead it felt like stepping deeper into a story I never asked to be part of. Maybe because hearing the truth from her lips, calm, steady, exhausted, made everything frighteningly real. Mason didn't just lie to me. He left real people behind. 2 kids who were growing without a father, a woman who carried the weight of both parents alone, and a trail of unpaid responsibilities stretching nearly 2 years long. And now he was unraveling. Fast. The first sign came the next morning, another message from an unknown number. You gave my information to Julianne. Cops came to my job. I got fired because of you. I blocked it. Then another. I know you saw my message. Don't ignore me. Block. An hour later. You think you're helping. You're ruining everything. Block. By noon, I had blocked 6 new numbers. That evening, I told Avery everything. He listened without interruption, his silence heavy with calculation. He got fired, I said softly. He said the cops came to his work. That's his consequence, Avery replied, not yours. When you commit fraud and dodge legal orders, eventually the system catches up. You didn't ruin his life, his choices did. I know I whispered, though. Part of me still felt the faint tremor of guilt. But I can't help feeling. Alara, he said firmly, men like Mason depend on that feeling. They rely on empathy to escape accountability. You must not let guilt guide your decisions. I nodded. He was right, but guilt is stubborn. The next wave came from someone predictable, Brittany. My phone lit up with the new number. You piece of trash. Mason lost his job. He's basically homeless. All because you can't mind your own business. I took a long, steady breath before blocking her. The message stung not because her words mattered, but because they mirrored exactly the emotional burden Mason and his mother kept throwing at me. They wanted me to feel responsible for the consequences of his neglect. They wanted me to feel like the villain. And somewhere underneath their noise, a quieter truth pulsed. They were used to enabling him. I was not. That distinction made all the difference. The next morning, Avery called me earlier than usual. His voice held a note of restrained satisfaction. Update, he said. Mason's lawyer reached out. I sat up straighter, and they're dropping everything. No harassment claim, no financial abuse allegation. They know they have no case. Relief washed over me like warm water. So that's it, I asked. Not entirely, he said. My contact at family court confirmed he finally got served properly. Court date is set. If he fails to show up, there will be a warrant. I blinked stunned. So it's happening. It is. And the DA is reviewing the false report he filed. They might pursue charges. A surge of vindication hit me, but not for myself. For the kids, for Julianne, for every person he'd manipulated and abandoned. That afternoon, the truth began to ripple through Mason's world like a storm. Diane, his mother, called me again, her voice breaking no more sugar, no more accusations, just raw fear. "Elara, please," she pleaded. "You have to tell Julianne to stop. Mason can't handle this. He's losing everything." I closed my eyes. This again. The cycle of deflection. "I'm not telling Julianne anything," I said calmly. "Her children deserve support." "She's being vindictive," Diane insisted. "The amount isn't even that much. We could work something out just between us." "That's not how the law works," I said. He waited 18 months to show up for his responsibilities. "This isn't about revenge." "You don't understand," she cried. "He's my son. And those kids are her children," I answered. She didn't ask for any of this. Neither did they. A beat of silence, then a trembling forced composure. "You're heartless," she whispered. "Just like she is." She hung up. For a moment, the apartment felt too quiet, too still. I could almost feel the weight of her desperation pressing against the walls. But it wasn't mine to carry. Not anymore. Not ever. The final blow came in the form of a long email from Mason. Subject line, "Hope you're satisfied." I read it once, twice, a third time slower. He listed everything he'd lost: his job, his apartment, his dignity. He blamed me for each one. He told me I'd destroyed his chance at a fresh start, that I was vindictive, that I'd never find happiness after what I'd done to him. Not a single sentence contained remorse, not one. It was all still everyone else's fault. I closed the email, deleted it, didn't respond. 2 days later, another call came, this time from Julianne. Her voice held something new. Gratitude, relief, hope. "The court date is set," she said, "and this time he can't run. My lawyer thinks the judge won't be lenient after how long he's avoided this." Her voice trembled with emotion. "My kids, they might finally get what they need." Something warm and painful rose in my throat. I'm glad I whispered. I truly am. "You didn't have to get involved," she said, "but you did the right thing, even when it wasn't easy." After we hung up, I sat quietly for a long time. My apartment felt different, lighter, as if the air finally remembered how to move. I wasn't vengeful. I didn't hate him. I didn't want him destroyed. I just wanted the truth to stop being another one of his victims. And as the days passed, a quieter realization settled into me. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply stop protecting someone from their own consequences. For a week, everything turned eerily quiet. No new numbers, no knocks on my door, no indirect attacks through friends or family. The silence didn't feel peaceful at first. It felt like the air just before a storm breaks, open, the kind that makes windows tremble and dogs bark before the first drop of rain. I didn't trust it. Not yet, not with Mason's patterns. But as the days slipped by without a whisper from him, the tension in my shoulders slowly unwound. I cooked real meals again, opened my blinds, slept through the night without jolting awake at every vibration from my phone. It felt like reclaiming a house that had been occupied by someone else's shadow. Then the quiet cracked. At 9:38 a.m. on a Thursday, my phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. My stomach dipped, fear instinctively rising, but I answered anyway. Elara. It was Avery. His voice held that steady tone he used when delivering heavy news. "I spoke to my contact at family court again," he said. "Just wanted to update you." I braced myself, and court date is confirmed for next week. They served him properly this time. If he doesn't show, the judge will issue an automatic warrant. I let out a slow breath. So there's no way for him to avoid this anymore. "No," Avery replied. "His running days are over. The system finally got him in its sights. He can't charm or lie his way through this one." I'm glad I whispered. For the kids. "It's the right outcome," he said. "And Elara, you handled this better than most people ever could." I didn't respond, but the words sank deep. After we hung up, I stepped onto my balcony for the first time in weeks. The city sounds, distant traffic, dogs, barking neighbors, talking, suddenly felt normal again. Alive. Mine. Hours later, as if the universe wanted to remind me of the unpredictable way life circles back, I got a message from an unexpected sender. Chase Hartwell, Julianne's ex-husband, the father of Mason's children. He'd found me through a mutual friend who'd heard parts of the story. The message was simple. "Hey, not sure if you're comfortable talking, but I just wanted to thank you. Really." Before I could overthink it, I replied, "You don't need to thank me." He asked if he could call. I said yes. His voice was deep worn, exhausted in a way only single parents know. But beneath the weariness, there was warmth, kindness, that didn't need anything in return. "I just wanted you to know," he said, "you helped my kids. They won't know your name, but they'll feel the difference. I hope you understand the weight of that." My eyes burned. I didn't do much. "You did more than most people," he said. "When someone finally helps you after you've been shouting into empty air for a year and a half, it matters." We talked for nearly an hour. He told me about the kids, what they liked, how school was going, what questions they kept asking about their father. None of his words were bitter, only tired and honest. I didn't feel heroic. I felt human. The call ended on a note that stayed with me long after. "You saw the truth and didn't look away. That takes strength, more than you realize." Later that night, when the apartment was silent and the city outside softened into evening shadows, another message arrived, this time from a familiar address. Mason, a long, sprawling email, the kind he always sent when he wanted sympathy wrapped in threats. I scanned the first few lines, knowing I shouldn't, but I also knew this would be the last one I ever read. "I hope you're happy. You destroyed me. I lost my job, my apartment, everything. All because you couldn't mind your own business." He wrote paragraphs about how unfair life was, how he was the real victim, how I should have supported him, protected him, saved him from facing what he'd run from for so long. Not one line apologized. Not one line acknowledged the children he abandoned. Not one line took responsibility. Scrolling through his words was like watching someone drown while blaming the ocean for being water. At the end of the message, he wrote, "I'll be paying for your vindictiveness for years. Hope it was worth it." I didn't reply. I deleted it. And for the first time, it didn't feel like an act of fear. It felt like closing a door that was never meant to be opened again. The next morning, Julianne sent me a brief update. "Court is next Wednesday. Thank you again. No matter what happens, my kids finally have a chance." I typed back, "I'm rooting for them. Truly." And I meant it with every part of me. A few days passed. Then Chase messaged one last time. "Just a heads up, if you ever want to know how it all plays out, I'll let you know. You helped when you didn't have to. I think you deserve to hear the ending too." I thanked him, told him I'd appreciate that. When I closed the app, I realized something quietly transformative. This wasn't my circus anymore, not my lies, not my legal battle, not my burden. What I did wasn't revenge. I didn't seek punishment. I didn't even seek justice. All I did was refuse to participate in Mason's lies, and sometimes refusing to participate is the loudest truth you can speak. As I looked out the window, the morning light warmed the edges of my apartment,